All right, let's do this. I couldn't be happier than to have Tim Travis on today telling his story. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. You might want to have to adjust your mic. You're coming in a little faint.
Oh, okay. Sure. One sec there. That better?
A little better, but not that much.
Let's see here.
Now you're way better.
That's better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's good to have it close to your mouth.
All right, cool.
So, Tim, start with the beginning and get to the interesting stuff.
Well, I mean, I kind of got interested in investing really as a teenager. I remember I was in Hawaii with my dad, just us two, and he gave me the book, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. And so it was the first time that kind of investing made sense to me, that, stocks are fractional shares of a business, and, you can look at the fundamentals and see what they're worth. And that was kind of an eye opener for me. And so then from there, I started reading everything I could get my hands on, from Buffett and Martin Whitman and all these, kind of value investment guys. And, went to college, majored in business economics at UC Santa Barbara, and then worked in the industry, saw a lot of different things at some larger companies, Vanguard Group, Scottrade, AG Edwards and Sons, and worked at some smaller firms where I kind of learned how to utilize options too, which, and I kind of combined the two. I started intertwining value investing with incorporating some different option strategies. And, to make a long story short, over time, I was able to start my own company and go from there.
What's the name of the company?
TNT Capital Management. We just celebrated our 9-year anniversary.
You guys deal in explosive investments?
Yeah, I would say most people would probably say we're kind of boring because we look at fundamentals. We don't invest in kind of the stuff at 50 times sales, or we're not in the crypto space per se, but it's done really well for us and well for our clients, which is important.
You're not buying Tesla these days?
Oh man, I was an idiot. And for my own personal account, I made the mistake to short that a little bit. So that was an expensive lesson.
Well, I don't know if it was basically, I don't know if you were an idiot, because if you look at the math, if you just look at the numbers, Tesla is well into the clouds.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane. Yeah, it's impossible to justify. I learned a rule though, because a lot of my friends around here, they have Teslas. And I'm in Orange County, California. And so I drive in them and I like it. I do like it. I like the like kind of auto drive thing and all that stuff. And I told my wife, I'm like, I want to get this as my next car, I think. And I knew that, and I was still kind of shorting. So it was an expensive lesson, but I'm just glad I pulled the plug when I did. Cause it's crazy what's going on right now.
Well, it's funny because a friend of mine told me a while back, invest in the things that you buy almost every single day. If you go to Starbucks, buy Starbucks. If you drive a Tesla, buy Tesla. And it's a pretty interesting way of looking at it, because the things that are out there every day, Burger King, McDonald's, Tesla, those are the companies that are actually selling something. They're actually putting a product in the streets. Now, granted, I will say one thing. If you look at the sheer stock numbers and the math involved, some of these stocks that are in the stock market right now are highly inflated. Highly.
I agree.
And when the adjustment comes, you better learn how to ride the slide, because riding the slide is going to be fun.
I agree. I think it'll be a similar dynamic to what kind of occurred in 2000. A different type of bubble, but from there, the peak to trough on the NASDAQ was 80%. But at the same time, other stocks like value stocks actually did really well. Whereas this year, growth has done amazingly and value's done terribly. It's like the biggest divergence ever.
Yeah, the funny thing is, though, what we're seeing now in the stock market is dependent on the country or the government pumping money into the system.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not so much that the stock market's rising because of value. It's actually rising because the value of the dollar, it takes more dollars to buy the same stock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a scary situation. That's why, as you look at Bitcoin right now, I predicted it a while ago. I think we're going to see Bitcoin at $100,000 probably within the next 18 months. The economic decisions that have been made by the US government to just print so much money has made the dollar a very scary situation.
I don't disagree. I mean that with the dollar being kind of scary, but then it's, of course, it's relative to other currencies. And I won't profess to be an expert on Bitcoin. I can understand that rationalization. There's some elements of the cryptos, kind of how they're mined. And, I mean, I'm not an expert on it, so I won't opine too much on it. But I definitely see the appeal in gold. Like, we've owned some gold miners, some copper miners. It's interesting because oil is so far in the tank. You'd think if we get inflation, that would be something. But I do agree. I think we'll see a reflation.
What we're seeing with oil is there's less travel, so there's less demand.
Exactly.
Right now, I don't think people realize this. There are oil tankers that are just sitting out in the ocean. They're literally just sitting out there in the ocean because it's cheaper to keep them in the water than to try and empty them or get them to a port where they can't be emptied right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the no flying thing. Exactly. I mean, it's just, no one could have ever imagined a scenario like that.
Actually, I think somebody did imagine this. This whole economic crashing of the global economy had to be well planned out years in advance. I mean, you look at these lockdowns, there's not a sane person that will tell you that the lockdowns were necessary or effective other than destroying the US economy before an election. And the people that were behind the lockdowns of the US economy especially wanted to see America crash and burn. They wanted to see small businesses die. They wanted to see people unemployed. And in many ways, the people like Jeff Bezos of the world, the big companies, they created more wealth for themselves during the lockdown than at any point in time in history.
They sure have. It's been a have and a have not scenario. And yeah, I can't look at what's occurred and think that these were honest mistakes. I mean, there's a real virus. That's true. It's a moderate pandemic. So if you look at the way that the WHO used to classify pandemics, this would classify as, like, I believe they have it as a 2. So, you take some adjustments. You would never lock down. The mask thing is ridiculous. That wasn't their guidance ever for healthy people.
The what? Oh, the mask.
Healthy people wearing masks,
Well, here's the funny thing. A buddy of mine has a bunch of these masks sitting in his car's ashtray.
Yeah.
And he only wears them because he has to wear them to get in and out of a restaurant or whatever, because it's a social leash that the government has created to show who's obedient and who's not. Funny thing is, you wear this thing over and over and you put it in your ashtray. What the fuck? There's dirt, there's soot, there's probably COVID all over this thing right now, and you're sucking it in.
Yeah.
There's so many people that wear masks and then throw them in their ashtray, their car, put them on their visor, whatever. Where's the cleanliness? A friend of mine who's a doctor, an ER doctor, said the only mask that protects him is a brand new N95 mask that he puts on fresh and then takes off and throws away after he's done with it.
Right.
Now they've got people walking around with cloth masks, which do nothing other than state a fashion statement that says, yo, I'm obedient.
Oh, I mean, the people I know that got COVID, a lot of them, I mean, they were the most ardent mask wearers you could find. But you just look at anyone wearing them and they're constantly touching their face. They're, exactly. It's constant. They're usually not hygienic. And I got upset. I mean, yesterday, my daughter came home from school. She's a second grader. And, they forced them to wear masks, but I'm grateful she's at school. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad she's at school.
I mean, think about this for a second. I think the statistic is one child under the age of 22 has died with COVID, not from, with.
Yeah.
One. And they want to lock down schools? Are you crazy? They're the most healthiest.
It makes no sense. There's no scientific rationale.
Indestructible.
Yeah, and I mean, Europe set the example. In Europe, we saw all this. We saw that schools were actually good places to be. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to kill your immune system. Everything. There's nothing you can point to where, like, oh, well, okay, we're gonna adjust because of the science. They're not doing that at all. They're just doubling down, tripling down every mistake. It's insane.
So answer me this. Why in an election year do you think this happened?
Well, I think that that's part of it. I think that the election and regime change is part of it for sure. But I think that there's a real virus. It came out of China. I don't believe the official Chinese narrative by any means. I think it probably leaked out.
I know some Chinese people, and they've
Yeah.
never had bat soup.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I've seen some interesting theories of I guess there were some miners in like 2015 that died of a very similar respiratory virus. So I think it probably slipped out of that Wuhan lab.
Well, here's what nobody talks about. COVID, and by the way, we did not plan to talk about COVID.
Oh, it's fun though. It's good.
COVID is actually a derivative of SARS, swine flu.
Right.
So it's not really that novel. It's not really that shockingly new. It's a derivative of something that's been around a while, and it's just a new version of SARS.
Exactly.
And I think the media is actually very much to blame because they took a story that could have literally just been a normal story. Hey, we've got this new version of SARS. It's like the flu. It attacks your lungs. Try and get some vitamin D, get some sunshine, stay healthy. If you're in this age range and overweight, here's the other thing that nobody talks about. I saw a CDC study. I think it was 90 or 95%, don't quote me on this, 90 to 95% of the people that died of COVID had a history of smoking. What killed them? The virus or the pack of cigarettes a day?
Yeah.
Come on, man. You know,
huge comorbidities.
And the other thing was high percentage were obese, high percentage had diabetes, heart related issues. Well, yeah, guess what? All those things kill you over time. If you're fat, eventually you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Stay healthy. You gotta keep those arteries going. You can't get sick. Any kind of sickness. Here's the crazy thing too. In September, they announced that the flu year over year is down 95% this year. Down 95.
Yeah.
Could it be that we're just diagnosing everyone with COVID that has a sneeze or a cough?
100%. That's of course what's going on. The PCR testing's the biggest scam of it. Is what the way that they're using it. And the thing is people know about this. Like, there's no way that an Anthony Fauci doesn't know the wrongs in PCR testing, but they're doing it. And if you think, okay, but why are so many people being quiet about it? Who's making the money on these tests?
Follow the money.
If you follow the money with this, that's honestly the biggest explainer of individual acts. That's it. There's more to it, but the money's a huge part.
The funny thing is, over the last 6 months, politicians have approved the spending of over $7 trillion. Trillion. That number, if you really break it down, is almost incomprehensible when you think about it in the big picture of life.
Yeah.
And the fact that so much money was spent and now they're finding out all these scams. I mean, Harvard University reached out their hand and took $9 million, and they've got $41 billion in an endowment. The interest on the endowment alone makes that school profitable, yet they stole money from the taxpayers. Stole it. You heard me. Stole it.
I agree.
Why would you ask for any money during an economic crisis when you've got $41 billion in an endowment that the interest alone allows you to run your business?
Well, it's terrible. And with this stimulus bill that they're proposing now, which obviously people need, you can't shut their businesses and then not help them. That's wrong.
Shout out to all the Democratic governors that shut down everyday mom and pop small businesses and destroyed dreams everywhere.
Well, as a small businessman, you know how that is. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You have your family relying on it. So every day, when I drive by those empty shops, it's devastating.
Loans, you have leases. Think of all the real estate that's just going to collapse. Commercial real estate from a standpoint of even just strip mall stores is just hemorrhaging. It's like hemorrhaging so bad. San Francisco will be a ghost town if they don't change leadership very soon.
Well, yeah, and what I was getting at too was the hang up is like arguments on contact tracing. Like that's what so instead of like getting checks out to people and redoing the PPP, they're arguing about contact tracing, which has not worked anywhere, especially somewhere of our size. We're dealing with an endemic virus. This is not, you're not going to crush COVID. That's lunacy talk. It's an endemic virus. We're going to have to deal with it. It'll become more mild. We're not going to see excess deaths this winter. It's going to be manageable, but I mean, it's tragic, of course. Like every death's tragic, and it's going to supersede the flu. It looks like. I mean, this season at least.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's talk about finance. What do you
Sure.
think about the market currently?
I think that most of it's in a bubble. Like I don't like the index. The only way you could justify the index is by saying, well, look where the 10 years at, on a relative basis, it's cheap looking at the earnings yield. But I like you said, with the money printing going on, and I do believe that the US is a much more dynamic and different economy than like Japan. So I do think you will see reflation. Um, so as yields start going up, that makes them more competitive with stocks. And
Well, we're definitely going to see inflation. In fact, I think we're actually starting to see it now. If you go to the grocery store,
oh yeah,
I used to pay $4 or $10 for like a 6 boxes of almond milk.
yeah,
And that same almond milk is now $14, $15. So I think and plus the supply chain,
oh
that
yeah.
that if that doesn't concern people, man, you got to you got to look around. Like I don't know what it's like in California, but if you look in certain grocery stores here in Las Vegas, there's entire sections that are just empty.
Right. That's crazy. Still, wow. I haven't seen that much, but prices like just for I smoke on my barbecue a lot, and yeah, I mean like red meat prices are obscenely so
By the
much
way,
higher.
shout out to Peter Pham. Do you know Peter?
No.
So you gotta follow Peter Pham. He is a meat eating barbecuing machine.
Nice.
I have literally watched that guy kill off at least a couple of steers and cows and ribs and pigs. I mean, that guy literally is a barbecue. My bucket list item is to go hang out with Peter and watch him barbecue all weekend.
Mhm.
Just smell the smoke from his barbecue.
Oh, it's the best.
He's a world class barbecue. I'm sending you his link right now, so you
Cool.
can reach out to him and say, "Yo, let's kill
Yeah.
some meat one day." So when you barbecue, what do you like to barbecue? What's your favorite item?
I like pulled pork, probably is my favorite.
So what do you deal with? Like a pork butt and then just
Yeah, pork butt, and then you smoke it. I mean, it takes 12 hours probably at a low temp. But you just give it a dry rub before. And I actually don't use foil in between. You're kind of supposed to use that before you take it out, but I like the barkiness. But yeah, that's a life changer. My wife loves it because I do a lot of the cooking now.
do you think after all the news that's come out the last couple of days that Joe Biden's butt is getting a little bit smoked? I mean, do you think his pork is getting pulled?
I don't know what he's thinking, but there's a lot in that.
Is it amazing that both him and Kamala have run for president and vice president? I can't remember who's running for president. I think it's actually Kamala. Is it amazing that they've literally hid from the media for almost 6 months?
I mean, think about if they lose. I mean, if Trump loses, you're going to say, well, the guy left every single thing in the ring. I mean, every part of him. If they lose, it will be the world's worst campaign in history, in probably the history of politics.
Well, let's be honest. The Democrats picked Joe Biden to be their guy. They literally went from the worst candidate in 2016 and Hillary Clinton, crooked Hillary, shout out by the way, and to Joe Biden, who's almost as crooked as her. He literally sold off access to America, the country. Like literally his son's emails, business dealings, everything, all black and white shows that he was selling access to his father for millions of dollars.
The evidence is damning. I mean, this would be the biggest story you could imagine if this was the other way. And look, I'm not saying any politician's clean. I'm not saying that Trump probably doesn't have something in his history, like I'm not getting it's people can support who they want to support, but that should be looked at
By the
carefully.
way, that's called a disclaimer.
Yeah, well, people have disqualifying things. So I mean, I have friends that don't like Trump and that won't vote for him just because of the Access Hollywood interview or the hidden mic thing years ago. I mean, there's people where that's the most important issue. For me, I'm more of like a issue guy, economy, foreign policy. But this is insane. I mean, this is not tolerable.
Realizing when he was watching CNBC, he saw the highlight of Biden's economic plan, and he realized, I'm not paying 62% in taxes, not to live in New York. The Knicks suck. I'm out of here.
Oh, I told my wife, if that happens, and especially if California keeps like the restrictions like we have, I'm gonna have to move, and I don't want to. I'm in my
Got a
dream
couple of
home.
houses I'm building out here in Vegas if you want a custom home.
I know. It's like I'm thinking somewhere where there's no where there's no state income tax.
No state income tax. There's
Yep.
weather for 9 months of the year.
I'm a Raider fan too.
Probably some of the best restaurants you can get outside of Chicago. I got to say that you want to go have good Italian food, go to Chicago.
Yeah, no, I'm considering that. I mean, Florida would be good, but my wife's family's in Arizona, so we want to stay kind of close to them. But we'll see. I hope I don't have to.
Next door to Joe Rogan in Texas. Everyone's seen. I don't even know if there's enough room in Texas for all the people going down there.
It's going to be insane. Let's just hope that they don't make it like California. I mean, those people are leaving places, and then I mean, we don't want high taxes. That's the whole thing. We don't want taxes. We don't want all the red regulations. I think more than the tax cut, I think the regulation reduction that Trump did was one of the best things for this economy. I mean, it was
not only that. I mean, who wants big government? Who wants the government to tell them what to do? Wear a mask, lock down your business, stay at home, pay more in taxes. And by the way, anytime we've paid more in taxes to the government, they find 100 different ways to fuck it up.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to let government take care of your health care? Try talking to somebody that has literally lived off government health care, VA, even some of the people on Medicare. Medicare is just a travesty. And if people think the government's going to take care of healthcare better than private institutions, not a chance in hell. Now, what we do need to do, and that's starting to happen, is we need to attack the drug crisis, because in America, for the same drug, we get ripped off. We get like,
oh yes,
my buddy has a kid and he's divorced, and his kid needs she has like these attacks, so where they have to give her like the shot, the epidural.
Yeah. I forget what it's called too, but yeah,
it's like a shot, and so because he's divorced, he has to buy one for the wife's house, so there's one there. He has to buy one for his house, and he has to give one to the school. And so they come in 2-packs, so he's kind of screwed because he has to buy 2 of them to get 4 of them. In the United States, they're $750 a piece. If he drives to Canada, they're $60 and sold over the counter.
I mean, it's just wrong.
And it's literally made by the same exact company.
And yeah, I know. And they have generic competition for that. I remember that was like a big deal, is that a generic competitor came in, but no, that doesn't make it's wrong. It's completely wrong. Isn't that one of the things that's going to change next year? Is that what's starting?
Actually changing right now. It's what Trump did was he created an executive order, which the drug companies are freaking out over.
Right.
Where we get the lowest price of anywhere. If they're selling the drug for $60 in Canada, that drug has to sell for $60 in the States, which, thank God, it's about time, because the drug companies have been living under a really fucked up situation where they're able to literally steal money from the insurance companies and the government. Because what basically happens is they charge $750, your insurance company pays most of it, and your insurance company raises premiums. It ultimately comes out of us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, how our health insurance for a family is insane. It's astronomically insane.
Well, what blew my mind was in the first year of Obamacare, I was paying $235 a month for health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
It went up to $1,250. It's just started recently to come down. went up to $1,250 a month while Obamacare was going on. I lost my mind. I was like, what the fuck? So I did some research. And it turns out that Obamacare, one of the biggest things that it does is it pays for drug addiction.
Oh, yeah.
People that are on heroin, they go through these drug addiction programs now because they're free, because they get what's called methadone. And methadone costs hundreds of dollars for a dosage. Well, what these people that are in drug addiction do, they get the methadone because it's basically a version of heroin, and then they go to their heroin dealer and get some more, but the methadone's like a free high for them.
Right.
So
it's crazy.
That was one of the biggest reasons why Obamacare's price was so expensive, and therefore made the cost of other insurance more expensive.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing. So I met my wife, and I was blessed to become a stepfather. She had a 2-year-old when I met her, and I didn't realize, I didn't really know all the details of how it worked, but basically she had free health insurance for her and my daughter, because she was, what's that?
From what country?
No, this is in Arizona. This was in Arizona. So she had totally free health insurance. So
wow.
if she was sick, if she had a cold, she could literally go to the ER if she wanted to, and it would be completely free to her. And the thing is, so we got married, of course, but you do think about that. Like there's a huge incentive not to get married. I mean, fortunately, I can afford to pay for health insurance for my family. But you look at the inner cities, you look at, people that are struggling, there's a huge incentive not to get married. And we all know, if you're not married, it's a lot easier to, abandon your kids. And that's a massive problem that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah, that is true.
No, I mean, that's a disastrous program.
So we've talked a little bit about the market. What do you see happening in 2021 under two scenarios? One, we have President Kamala Harris, and two, we have President Trump.
I think if Harris wins, I think it's a big concern because you're going to have higher taxes, which is just devastating. I mean, that's devastating. You're going to have increased regulations. And then I think the other thing is you have Fauci staying on board there. So, I mean, you could get more lockdowns until the vaccine programs.
Well, you know what Biden said is as soon as he takes office, he's going to lock down the country.
I mean, he hasn't said that specifically, but he said first call would be Fauci. Yeah.
No, he literally said it specifically.
Wow.
Yeah. Here, hold on. Biden lock down country video. The beautiful thing, if this is from CBS, by the way, so this is actually this is not like a far right leaning source. This is a video from, here, let's see, where is I'm gonna share this with you. This is how crazy things could be. All right, let's what do we got here? Come on. The world of technology.
There's more than one kind of luxury, but there's only one way to live in it. Your way. Experience
and in 10 seconds, we get past this commercial.
Infinity Now. Service, test drives, purchase, and leasing that comes to you.
Cue the evidence.
Much like they're having problems sorting the mail, they're not going to sort this one out very easily, at least not in the next few days. This is a rare Saturday session to vote on a $25 billion rescue plan for the Postal Service, but just exposes a decade-long
the Democratic National Convention that people wanted to hear more from Biden and Harris about what they would be doing with their administration, less about President Trump. How did they do at reaching those expectations?
It depends on who you ask. Biden himself, didn't share very specific details in his remarks about what he would do, but he did outline broadly that he would do things like a national mask mandate, make better use of the Defense Production Act, in his view, to force the production of medical supplies and equipment here in the United States so that the country's no longer dependent on China or other countries around the world for PPE and issues like that. Talk broadly about taxes and preserving Social Security, but beyond that, over the course of the week, very little specific mention of what exactly Democrats would do, not only if they take back the White House, but if they take full control of Biden. Simply isn't President Trump. That makes
for years or more on Joe Biden.
Now will be held very similarly to the Democrats from multiple.
This would take forever, but there is a section in there where he says he shut down the country to fight the coronavirus if recommended.
Yes. No, you're right. And that's exactly it. That's, I mean, in Europe, that's what we're starting to see in some countries. Some countries are fighting against that, but that's a huge
Well, in the
concern.
UK, my friend is out there. He's like, "This is crazy. The people are about really ready to have a civil war. The politicians in the UK are insane. They're trying to lock down everyone, keep them in their house. People are starting to like really get wind that this is an insane idea."
Whatever they gave Boris Johnson, like,
Huh?
I'm just glad President Trump did not get that when he got COVID, because Boris Johnson came into it, with some courage, and he came out just a totally different person. Now he's, scared of everything and wants to lock down. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily so much him as it is the rest of their parliament. Their parliament's like so pushing to lock down the country, and these countries that are scared of COVID. Like I had COVID, and now I've got the antibodies. I'm not kidding you. I had a dry cough for like 2 days, and it was over with.
Right.
And I mean, I took some cough medicine. I took some Halls. I didn't even need any medication. I got over it. I tested for it. I tested with the antibodies about 2 weeks later. I mean, it's literally not that big of a deal.
Right.
And I'd be willing to bet I know so many friends that have probably had it but didn't even realize it.
Oh, yeah. I remember I have two good friends. They went to Mexico. This was like in February too. They came back and they were very sick, and they had a dry cough for a very long time. We hung out with them all the time. I mean, I think honestly, the reason why California, especially like San Francisco, hasn't gotten it that bad, I'm sure they had it last year. I mean, they found it in the sewage in Brazil from November. Same thing occurred like in France. Maybe that was December, but it was around. There's no way. I mean, we have, a large population that comes from China. There's a lot of travel. There's just no way that was the first introduction. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, COVID's been around for a while. Like if you look, there are patents for COVID in 2015.
Yeah, I've seen that. Well, and I believe that was the year when the miners in the mine in China, they started dying from a respiratory illness.
Yeah, if you're in a miner, I mean, you're going to die from any respiratory illness most of the time because your lungs are filled with so much dust and soot.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about the 2021 economy. What's your outlook overall?
Well, I mean, it depends on who wins. I mean, I remember 2016 distinctly because you had Brexit and the stock market tanked. Then you had kind of a nasty little market. Everyone said if Trump won, market was going to tank. And I remember he won, shocked the world. Overnight, the futures plunged, but then the market just went up like a rocket. Yields started climbing. And so I think if Trump wins, I think that's what you'll see, because they know, forget about lockdowns in the United States. And if the United States doesn't lock down, then other countries are going to take our cue, and Trump can put pressure, financial pressure, pressure through the media on some of these governors. The governors have to open. I mean, or else, everyone will go bankrupt. So I'm actually really optimistic if that occurs. I think if Biden Harris wins, there's so much money in the economy. I think it'll be a good year, like GDP wise, but I would not be optimistic on the market.
The GDP has gotten hammered in 2020. And if they don't do things to stimulate the economy in 2021, if anyone does anything negative, raise taxes, lock down businesses, make travel, if travel doesn't start coming back, that's going to be a huge issue because, I mean, for example, Vegas sees about 42 million people a year. There's no way we're going to see that many people in 2020.
No.
And we're probably going to see less in 2021 unless people start getting out and traveling again.
Absolutely.
And if that doesn't happen, that's a huge reason. As travel goes, in many ways, that's how the economy goes.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this is the most critical time in our history, since World War II at least. But this was self-imposed, self-inflicted in many ways. That's the most worrisome thing. But you're exactly right. That's why, it's such an important election. The stakes are so shockingly high. We'll see. I'm optimistic, to be honest with you.
I like to be optimistic, but I also think that there's a lot of forces that want to see America suffer and really, I'll tell you, the virus came from China, the masks came from China, the gloves came from China, the medical equipment came from China. You know who's winning in 2020?
Oh, I know damn well who's winning. Well, let me ask you this. Why doesn't everyone ask? I'm sure you probably do, but why doesn't everyone ask, why don't you see people dying on the streets, collapsing on the streets anywhere else except for Wuhan? Why did that not happen? Why does no interviewer ask Anthony Fauci that question? Why isn't he asked anything? Why isn't he asked anything with a critical eye?
It's amazing how many politicians, including Fauci, and I consider him a quasi-politician.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how many of them, other than Trump, will never, ever attack China. Like,
No.
literally, you will never see them. I don't think I've ever seen Biden put any of the blame on China.
He never has, but now you've seen the emails. I mean, imagine what they have on that. Imagine, I mean, if they could uncover all the bribery. I mean, I'm sure that's a very common thing. I mean, all of these politicians become multi-millionaires, gazillionaires after being in office.
How does Nancy Pelosi go into office with $80,000 a year and nothing to her name? And today she's worth over $200 million.
I think her husband's private equity, but those contacts definitely help. But I think something like
It's
that.
actually interesting because his private equity investments had a lot to do with legislation that she passed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why more people haven't asked to make congressional and senatorial term limits, just like we have for the president.
totally agree.
These politicians, when they're in office for 20, 30, 40 years, the longer they're in office, the more entrenched they become to the people paying their freight.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is exposed. I think what happened was Trump exposed the media. I mean, he took away every little veneer of reality. I mean, we always knew it was biased, but what it became and what it is now is so crazy. But then
Oh my God, did you see that he released the 60-minute interview today?
I was watching that before we got together. That was a genius move because he did really well, and it just shows the implicit, ridiculous questions.
When Leslie Stahl goes, we can't verify the laptop. We can't. Well, how can you not verify it? It's at the FBI. It was literally verified by the FBI that it is Hunter Biden's laptop. You can't ask that question.
They haven't even denied it once because obviously it is.
Not only that, but they hired an attorney to send a letter to the laptop shop owner saying, hey, we want our laptop back.
Well, now you have multiple sources too, because the other partners are talking too, and they're. I mean,
that partner, he gave up all his emails and he literally released a statement saying that Joe Biden was getting paid.
I mean, it's wrong, and it would never be acceptable if it was anyone. People just hate Trump, and it's blind, and whatever, anything's better than Trump in their eyes. Like, we'll overturn the Supreme Court. We'll stack it or whatever. We'll do anything's acceptable, to get rid of him, and that's just wrong for all of our country. Like, we want to leave this place better for our kids. Like, I worry about that, and now we're allowing all the censorship. That's what is. Scariest thing to me, honestly, is the censorship.
Well, here's the crazy thing. We're not allowing the censorship. The censorship's happening without anybody stepping up and saying, wait a second.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go to jail. You put Sheryl Sandberg, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jack from Twitter and some of the people from YouTube, you put them in handcuffs and you march them into a police car and you do the perp walk with them. You watch how quickly the censorship comes back to a grinding halt.
Something's going to happen. I mean, it's unsustainable like this. I mean, it'll lead to a horrendous outcome, and people are looking at it too short-sighted.
I mean, look at the New York Post. To this day, they're still locked out of their Twitter account over a story that was factually true.
That's the New York Post too. That is not National Enquirer. That's New York Post. I mean, and they would not post that. I mean, imagine the consequences. Imagine the calls they're getting from politicians. I mean, I'm sure there's some threats where, look, if Trump loses this election, like, you're going to have some real consequences.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what your roadmap is for your personal life. What are you trying to accomplish over the next 6, 12, 18 months?
I'm trying to manage obviously you have to take this very seriously with what's going on. So, I mean, you have an expensive market, you have undervalued companies. So I'm trying to be very smart for my clients, make them money, protect it. Um, I'm interested in branching out and kind of, communicating more like this. I think this is a good format that you're doing. So something like that would be pretty cool. I haven't utilized social media as much as I should.
Have you ever thought about hosting your own paid group?
I don't need it to be paid necessarily. I don't necessarily want it to be like that. But I like being able to just kind of talk openly and have like real conversations like we're having.
But the one thing you realize is when people pay to be part of a group, what they do is they're basically doing what's called a micro university. And when
Yeah.
somebody pays for knowledge,
Yeah.
they appreciate it. They value it more.
Well, that's totally true. I just think it might conflict with my business.
$20 a month or $30 a month, you're now going to elevate the people that are inside that group.
Yeah. No doubt. I've thought about like subscription websites, particularly like with stock research and using options.
Class Millionaires, we have a group where you can walk right in, become a host, do weekly Zoom calls, and you can invite people to be part of a paid group and build not only a revenue stream. What are you drinking? Is that water?
Yeah, it's a sparkling water, green apple.
I was going to say, it looked like green apple. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a wealth mastery group where you can literally walk right in and host weekly Zoom calls and literally give people an education on investing for the long term.
I'd love to learn more about that because tech's my problem. I'm just not like, I don't have a lot of extra time to like deal with the website updating and stuff like that. So, but the content.
After this call, I'll show you a
Cool.
couple of links. I'd be shocked if it takes more than 2 minutes for you to figure it out.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great.
So you want to share the knowledge that you've acquired. You want to show people a path towards building wealth. What are what are the three biggest things in 2021 that people can do to build wealth?
I mean, I think you have to be very careful about your spending habits. I mean, one thing working as a financial advisor, it's shocking, how much waste there is. People just don't save enough money. They make almost everyone, I know makes good money and they'll see their salaries growing, but they don't increase their savings. So like for me personally, every month I have money going into my investment accounts, just automatic, to where, no matter what, it's like an expense, but it's an investment. And that's been a game changer for me because it's so easy to just buy a car if you have extra money sitting in the bank or whatever. So that's a big part of it. The second thing I'd say is really, look at your liabilities. So for me, there's benefits in having a mortgage. It's tax deductible. The interest rates are so low. Whereas, some people that are having, expensive auto loans, expensive student debt, credit card debt.
What are fixed interest rates these days? I haven't looked in a long time, but I got to believe that they're super low.
Oh, for like a 30-year mortgage, you can get 2.8 on an FHA mortgage. For jumbos, it's a little bit higher, but that's insane. So if you get inflation, that liability is really going to be an asset for you. You're paying 2.8, maybe you'll be able to buy investment grade bonds yielding 7%, 5 years from now, who knows?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Shocking news. There's a $10 off coupon from Uber Eats if I buy some Burger King today.
There you go.
What have you learned about keeping your diet and keeping your body in shape and drinking water and making sure you're hydrated? How does that help you from a standpoint of investing?
I just think it makes you more healthy and alert. Are you familiar with PD Mangan? He's pretty big on Twitter. He's got a cool newsletter. Look him up. But I've always his name's PD Mangan.
Okay.
But I've always lifted weights. I've always exercised. I used to do like a lot of running and stuff like that. But I read his little book he had. And basically he's big on the intermittent fasting. And then he's also big on like when you're lifting weights, do as many reps as you can until failure, and then just move on to the next exercise. So ever since I started that, I dropped like 20 pounds probably, and just I've got a lot healthier. So I don't do like the intermittent fasting every day or anything like that. But if you do it like 2 or 3 days, it's amazing how much it helps. And it's definitely helped with business. I just have way more energy. And you have to have that energy if you're like reading annual filings. It gets boring after a while, of course.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
So what would you want people to know about how they can reach you and some of the reasons that you'd give them to reach out to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a great investment program. We manage all of our money through TD Ameritrade, now Schwab, I guess, because Schwab just bought it.
Oh, wow. They did?
Yeah, they did. And we build the whole portfolios. We build full comprehensive financial plans for our clients. Our website's ttvalueinvesting.com. And we also write a lot of research reports on like Seeking Alpha. And my email is tim@ttcapitalonline.com. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Send me that email address and link. And what I'll do is I'll put that underneath the video so that if people get a chance to watch this,
Yeah.
not only learn about you, but they can reach out to you, bug you, drive you crazy, send you, crazy photos of their puppies and kittens.
There you go. Just what I need. That works.
Tim, love the talk. Can we do it again?
Oh, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, don't go anywhere yet. Let's say